Good afternoon, students. So today we'll see about the hard sounds, and in this lecture we'll see about the genesis of hard sounds, features of hard sounds, and auscultation of hard sounds. Now, the new curriculum, that is competency based medical education, in this you are supposed to achieve one competency, that is to describe the events occurring during cardiac cycle. And during the mechanical events of the cardiac cycle, one event is genesis of various heart sounds. So this mastery over the genesis of heart sounds is expected from you. So the objectives of today's lectures are, at the end of the today's lecture, the student should be able to describe or define what are heart sounds and how are they produced, that is their genesis and features, and also give major differences between two main heart sounds, that is first heart sound and second heart sounds. So generally these questions are asked in the exam. So at the end of today's lecture you should be able to answer these two questions. Understood? So you should be able to understood this. You should be able to write these two questions in the exam, that is what is heart sound and how are they produced, and give major differences between two main heart sounds. Now moving ahead, basically the heart sounds, they are heard by clinical stethograph and phonocardiogram. Now when we say clinical stethograph, you can hear first and second heart sound, and sometimes very rarely third heart sound can be heard with the help of stethoscope. But generally in majority of the people only two heart sounds are heard, that is first heart sound and the second heart sound. But with the help of phonocardiogram you can hear all the four heart sounds which are produced during the mechanical events occurring during the cardiac cycle. So this phonocardiogram record is important to know where actually these heart sounds occur during the various mechanical events going on in the cardiac cycle. Understood? So heart sounds, basically, now first how they are generated, what is the genesis or mechanism of production of heart sounds. Now first of all I would like to tell you that now we'll consider a cardiac cycle. We have already dealt with it. Now we'll consider the cardiac cycle. In the cardiac cycle, first thing to happen is the atrial systole. Then during the atrial systole, the 30% of the blood from the atria, that is the remaining part of the blood, right, in the atria is pushed towards the ventricles, and the AV walls are open, that is mitral wall and tricuspid wall are open. Now when the ventricular systole begins, ventricular systole begins, the volume of the blood in the ventricle is there, and this beginning of the systole of ventricle causes little bit increase in the pressure in the ventricle. When the pressure in the ventricle rises about 5 to 6 mm of Hg, which is more than the atria, at this point the blood pushes the AV walls and causes the closure of AV walls. Now this closure of AV walls, because of increased pressure in the left ventricle, then the left atrium similarly increase in the pressure in the right ventricle, then the right atrium, that is atrioventricular walls, that is mitral wall and tricuspid wall. Whenever the pressure in the left ventricle and the right ventricle increases more than the atria, there is closure of atrioventricular walls. This closure represents the first heart sound. It is not the cause, it represents. The old concept was like that, because of closure the first heart sound is heard, but it is actually not the basic cause of first heart sound. It, no doubt, it represents the beginning, it represents the occurrence of first heart sound. Now what is the basic thing in this? More important is, whenever the atrioventricular walls are closed, these atrioventricular walls below are attached with the chordae tendineae, and to this chordae tendineae are attached the papillary muscles. So whenever the ventricles contract, whenever the ventricle contract, that is the left ventricle contract, because of contraction of the left ventricle the papillary muscles also contract. Because of contraction of the papillary muscles there is tautness in the chordae tendineae. These chordae tendineae are attached to the cusps of the atrioventricular walls, and now the atrioventricular walls have the tendency to evert back in the right atrium, but they are held together by the chordae tendineae. So what happens? The walls are elastic and they are having the tendency to move backwards into the atria, whereas the chordae tendineae are pulling them down. So these walls going up and pulling down by the chordae tendineae, they start vibrating, and along with these vibrations produced due to the closure of AV walls and tendency of AV walls to move backwards into the atria, and at the same time pulling off the chordae tendineae towards the papillary muscles or towards the apex of the heart, this sets these AV walls into vibrations, and these vibrations of the AV walls along with the vibrations of the blood column in the left ventricle, along with the vibrations of the walls of the ventricle, along with the vibrations of the major arteries which are attached to the heart, these all vibrates. This all vibrates, and these vibrations caused due to the closure of AV walls and pulling of chordae tendineae, these vibrations of cardiac apparatus causes the first heart sound. So an average student will say that it is the closure of AV walls, but a good student will say that it is the vibrations caused due to the closure of AV walls which is important for the generation of first heart sound. You understood? So this is the occurrence at the onset of ventricular systole. Now sudden closure of AV walls will cause vibrations in whole of the cardiac apparatus, and these vibrations are perceived as first heart sound, and this is due to sharp rise in intraventricular pressure. Now this closure of AV walls along with the closure of semilunar walls which are not yet opened, now the ventricles contract as a closed cavity, that is isovolumetric contraction period. During the isovolumetric contraction period, the ventricles are contracting as a closed cavity because AV walls are closed now, and semilunar walls, that is aortic and pulmonary walls, have not yet opened. As a result of this, what happens? There is sudden rise in the pressure of the ventricles. As a result of the increase in the pressure in the ventricles, the pressure rises more than the aortic pressure, which is 80 mm of Hg. So whenever there is increase in the pressure in the ventricles during the isovolumetric period, at that time what happens is there is sudden increase in the pressure of the ventricle, and when the pressure in the ventricle overrides the pressure in the aorta, there is opening of semilunar valves. This semilunar valves means aortic and pulmonary valves will not produce any sound. Remember, opening of the valves will not produce sound. The closing of the valves will produce sound. So there is opening of the semilunar valves, and remember, the opening is silent. There is no sound produced due to opening of any valves. Let it be atrioventricular valves or let it be semilunar valves. The closure of the semilunar valves or the closure of the atrioventricular valves will produce the sound. Like opening of a door will not produce the sound, but closure of the door will produce the sound. Yes or no? So opening of the valves will not produce any sound. Now what happens is, whenever there is increase in the pressure more than that of the aorta, the semilunar valves open up. There is ejection phase, that is rapid ejection phase, slow ejection phase, and after slow ejection phase there is end of ventricular systole. Whenever there is end of ventricular systole, then the ventricular diastole begins. When the ventricular diastole begins, at that time, when the pressure in the aorta is, when the pressure in the ventricle is less than the aorta, the semilunar valves close. The semilunar valves closed, and this produces the second heart sound. So closure of semilunar valves produces the second heart sound. The first heart sound is produced by closure of AV valves, and the closure of semilunar valves produces the second heart sound. Similarly, it is not just the closure of the semilunar valves, but the vibrations which are produced in the elastic arteries, that is aorta and pulmonary trunk. Also the vibrations produced in the ventricles, also the vibrations produced in the walls itself, because the walls are elastic. So these vibrations produced due to closure of semilunar valves in the major arterial bed, that is major arteries like aorta and pulmonary trunk, in the ventricles, the blood in the ventricle, this produces the second heart sound. So you came to know about the genesis of first heart sound and second heart sound. It is the vibrations which are the cause for the generation of first heart sound and the second heart sounds. Right? So now this is about the genesis of heart sound. Then the first heart sound occurs at the onset of ventricular systole. The nature is, it is dull and prolonged, and it can be heard as lub, L-U-B-B, lub. The duration is 0.1 seconds to 0.17 seconds. It has a longer duration than the second heart sound, where the frequency is 25 to 45 cycles per second. Longer duration, low pitch sound. Pitch means audible range of frequency. Pitch means audible range of frequency. So the frequency is 25 to 45 cycles per second, and it is best heard in the mitral area, and it coincides with the apex beat. It coincides with the apex beat means what? Apex beat is nothing but the lowermost and lateralmost part of the cardiac impulse, right? So it coincides with the commencement of carotid pulse. Whenever ventricular systole occurs, the aorta is filled, and from the aorta the blood goes to the carotid arteries. So whenever the first heart sound occurs, there is the pulse is felt in the carotid artery. So the first heart sound coincides with the carotid pulsations. The cause, I have already told you, it is the vibrations which are caused due to the sudden closure of AV valves, and it indicates the onset of clinical systole. The duration and intensity indicate the condition of the myocardium, and if the myocardium is weak, the sound will be short and low pitched. The sound will be short and low pitched. Understood? Now, the second heart sound. I already told you the second heart sound is caused due to vibrations produced due to the closure of semilunar valves. They are identified nature and relation with the first heart sound. First heart sound is called as first heart sound because it is the first sound which occurs during the ventricular systole, and the sound following that is the second heart sound. The sound which does not correlate with the carotid pulsations is the second heart sound, and the sound which correlates with the carotid pulsations is the first heart sound. The second heart sound is short and sharp, like the word dub. So first heart sound is lub, the second heart sound is dub. It is high pitched sound and shorter than first heart sound. The duration is 0.1 to 0.14 seconds, and it occurs at the onset of diastole. It occurs at the onset of diastole, or it marks the end of the systole. So the beginning of the systole is marked by the first heart sound, and the beginning of the diastole is marked by the second heart sound. So the second heart sound indicates end of systole and the beginning of diastole. Now, clinical systole is nothing but the duration or the interval between the first and second heart sound, and the interval between the second heart sound and the first heart sound is the clinical diastole. So systole is between first heart sound and second heart sound, and diastole is between second heart sound and first heart sound. Now we'll come to the third heart sound. After the second heart sound, there occurs third heart sound, which is because of sudden rush during rapid filling phase, sudden rush of blood or arterial blood into the ventricles during rapid filling phase. It is very short, it has a very short duration of 0.04 second, and it indicates the beginning of ventricular filling. It indicates the beginning of ventricular filling. Now, fourth heart sound. Fourth heart sound is also called as atrial heart sound, and it is caused by contraction of atria. The atrial systole, which pushes the last 30% of blood into the ventricles. This causes the occurrence of fourth heart sound. But remember, fourth heart sound is never heard by a normal clinical stethoscope. It is just recorded with the help of phonocardiogram. So the fourth heart sound cannot be heard by stethoscope, and if you are able to hear the third many times third and fourth heart sound with the help of clinical stethoscope, it is always a pathological condition. It is always a pathological condition. Now, this is the features of first, second, third and fourth heart sound and their genesis of first, second, third and fourth heart sound. Now we'll come to auscultatory areas of the heart sound. Remember, auscultatory areas of the heart sounds are not the areas where actually the wall is situated. The wall is situated somewhere else only. The sounds are produced in this area. And why these sounds are produced? Now suppose we'll take the example of first heart sound. The closure of the mitral wall causes vibrations in the cusps of the wall, vibrations in the blood column, vibrations in the ventricular wall and vibrations in the arterial tree. These vibrations are transferred to that area of precordium where it is very superficial. What is precordium? Precordium is that area of the heart below which the heart lies. That area of the chest below which the heart lies. So the mitral wall, vibrations of the mitral wall will be transferred to that area very nicely. Which area? To which area? Which is very close to the surface of the chest wall. So the first heart sound will be heard better to that area which is closer to the chest wall, and this is the mitral area. Similar is the case with tricuspid area, aortic area and pulmonary area. Remember, once again I am telling you, it is not, the areas are different and the situation of walls is different. The location of the walls is different. The vibrations are transferred to that area of the chest wall which is nearest to the heart. Just below that the heart is there. So if you keep a stethoscope over that area, you will hear the sound in a better way, because the vibrations are very near to the chest wall at that site. Therefore, these areas are different than the areas where the actually walls are situated. So now we'll see, this is the diagram showing the mitral area, tricuspid area, pulmonary area and aortic area. Now if you concentrate on mitral area is situated in left fifth intercostal space 1.5 centimeters medial to mid clavicular line. That is the location of the apex beat. So at this apex beat, the heart is very closer to the chest wall, and if you keep a stethoscope over this apex beat area, that is left fifth intercostal space, you will hear the sound in a better way, in a nice way. So mitral area is situated in the left fifth intercostal space medial to mid clavicular line 1.5 centimeters. Similarly, the tricuspid area is situated in the left fifth intercostal space just lateral to the sternum. Pulmonary area is located in the left second intercostal space on the left side just lateral to the sternum, and aortic area is situated in the right second intercostal space just lateral to the sternum. Remember again, these areas are not the locations where the walls are there. Walls are somewhere else only. But these sounds produced by the closure of mitral wall and tricuspid wall are heard in these areas in a better way. Similarly, the sounds generated due to closure of pulmonary and aortic walls are heard better in these areas. Okay, so this is a schematic diagram which shows again the mitral area, tricuspid area, pulmonary area, and aortic area. In these areas, the sounds are better heard. Understood? So this is the auscultatory areas. These are the auscultatory areas. If you auscultate in these areas, the first heart sound will be heard better in the mitral area and tricuspid area, and the second heart sound will be heard better in the pulmonary and aortic area. Again, to go into more details, the first heart sound has a mitral component and tricuspid component, that is M1 and T1. First heart sound is designated as S1 and second heart sound is designated as S2. Mitral area and tricuspid area, the mitral component is heard better in the mitral area and the tricuspid component is heard better in the tricuspid area. Similarly, for the second heart sound, the A1 and P1, that is aortic component, is heard better in the aortic area and pulmonary component is heard better in the pulmonary area. So here the mitral area first heart sound is better heard. It corresponds to apex beat. It is situated in left fifth intercostal space, half an inch medial to midclavicular line, and is over the apex of left ventricle, nearest to the surface of the heart. Understood? The tricuspid area is situated half an inch in diameter on left side in fifth intercostal space, close to the sternum, and it is over the right atrium because right atrium is little bit anteriorly rotated. Understood? The aortic area is situated half an inch in diameter in the right second intercostal space, close to the parasternal line, and is upward along the aorta. The pulmonary area is situated half an inch in diameter in the left second intercostal space, close to the parasternal line, and is upward along the pulmonary area. So in this diagram, all the mechanical events which are so shown, this is the Wigger's diagram. In this diagram, you can see that the first heart sound is heard at the closure of mitral wall and tricuspid wall. Second heart sound is heard when aortic wall and pulmonary walls close. Third heart sound coincides with the rapid filling phase or the rushing of blood into the ventricles, and fourth heart sound is heard when there is atrial systole. So now if you compare these features, the duration of first heart sound is 0.15 seconds, second is 0.12 seconds, third is 0.1 seconds, and fourth is 0.03 seconds. Frequency of first is 25 to 45 hertz, second is 50 to 50 hertz, third is low pitch, and fourth is again 3 hertz. Related event: first heart sound marks the onset of systole, second onset of diastole, first rapid filling phase is marked by third heart sound, and the fourth heart sound marks the atrial systole. The causes: the vibration set up because of closure of AV valves is the cause of first heart sound. The vibration set up by the closure of semilunar valves is the cause of second heart sound. Rushing of blood from the atria to the ventricle is the cause of third heart sound, and rushing of blood into ventricles during atrial contraction is the fourth heart sound. Again, the correlation with ECG: the first heart sound is related with onset of systole and coincides with peak of R wave, that is during isovolumetric ventricular contraction period. The second heart sound marks the onset of diastole and it correlates with the end of T wave. The third heart sound marks the first rapid filling phase and appears between T wave and P wave of ECG. And fourth heart sound marks the atrial systole and correlates with the end of P wave and onset of Q wave. So this is the relation showing the, this is the diagram showing the relation between the heart sounds and the concurrent ECG waves. So these are the differences between the first heart sound, second heart sound, third heart sound and fourth heart sound. So this is, now if we see the abnormal sounds, these any sounds apart from the normal heart sounds are called as adventitious sounds or abnormal sounds, and these abnormal sounds in case of heart are called as murmurs. So there can be a systolic murmur and there can be a diastolic murmur, then there can be continuous murmur. Understood? So this is the diagram showing normal wall and an incompetent wall. When during the systole the blood is thrown back into the atria due to incompetence of the wall. This is called as regurgitation. In this diagram you are seeing the mitral regurgitation. Now sometimes there is stenotic walls. Sometimes there are stenotic walls and the resistance causes the turbulence of the blood, and this turbulence also can cause genesis of abnormal sound, and these sounds are called as diastolic murmurs. And in case of atrioventricular wall, if the AV wall is stenotic, there is turbulence of the blood flow, and this turbulence of the blood flow is nothing but the abnormal sound production, which we called as AV stenosis. AV stenosis or atrioventricular stenosis. These murmurs are due to turbulence of blood flow. They originate at the point of maximal intensity and indicate site of origin. The timing and duration depend on the timing of murmur. It can be systolic, diastolic or continuous, and in duration it can be early diastolic, mid diastolic, early systolic or pansystolic, that is throughout the systole. The character can be soft, glowing, harsh, rough or rumbling. Loud and rough murmurs are usually associated with organic valvular and congenital heart disease, and they are radiated from the maximum intensity site, and the auscultation is performed in different direction to detect whether the murmur is localized or conducted to other part. And also with relation to respiration, during inspiration the stroke volume of the right ventricular increases while that of left ventricular decreases. Because of venous pulling of the blood, the right ventricle is more filled, and therefore any murmur which is becoming louder during inspiration is considered to originate from right ventricle, and any murmur increasing during expiration is attributed to originate from the left side of the heart. So aortic and pulmonary wall stenosis will give you systolic murmur, whereas aortic or pulmonary regurgitation will give you diastolic murmur. Mitral and tricuspid stenosis, diastolic murmur. Incompetence, systolic murmur. And interventricular septal defect will give you systolic murmur, and coarctation of aorta will give you systolic murmur. And continuous murmur is seen in case of ductus arteriosus patent, PDA, patent ductus arteriosus. And in cases of severe anemia, systolic murmur can be heard because of excess load on the heart. So this is the diagram which shows the normal heart sounds in the first line, and then in the A, and then in the B, C, D, E and F. You can see that murmur occurs during systole in case of aortic stenosis, mitral regurgitation. The murmur occurs during diastole in aortic regurgitation and mitral stenosis, and continuous murmur is seen in patent ductus arteriosus. Understood? So this is about the murmurs. Understood? So today we have seen genesis of heart sound, genesis of heart sound, and also we have seen the features of the heart sound, and we have seen the comparison between first, second, third and fourth heart sound, and lastly we have seen genesis of abnormal sounds, that is murmurs and types of murmur depending on site and type of abnormality. So in this diagram you can very well see the murmurs and whether they are systolic or diastolic in stenotic conditions and regurgitation conditions. Understood? So here we stop and